Welcome back to Renaissance Man Media. And so, as you guys know, or if anyone's actually been looking at the channel, so I said in my last video, the Die Another Day video, I'm going back and rewatching all James Bond movies in a random order. And I'm going to maybe not do a typical review. I want to do like the pros and cons of each movie and kind of break it down differently. Because, I mean, if you want to just look up the plot of a movie, you don't have to watch my videos. You could just go on Wikipedia, go on Google, watch. There's people that are better at it than I am of just breaking down exactly what happens or whatever, breaking down every detail. I just want to go over the pros and cons of the movie and then give you my overall rating of the film. So, in the last one, Die Another Day was a movie that I'd seen a zillion times. Now, to be fair, there are two movies that I did when I'm doing the random number generator to pick which 007 movie I'm watching. Two of them that I watched in the last week were For Your Eyes Only and Octopussy, but that was the first time that I'd seen those. And I recorded a review, kinda, and it was basically not the style and format that I like, so I think I'm going to go back and redo those. And I might just wait until those movies come back around, because honestly, I feel like I should probably watch each of these movies at least twice for me to give a proper review and evaluation. But with the Pierce Brosnan movies, at least for 3 out of the 4 of them, I've seen them a zillion times, so I don't need a second review. So with Die Another Day, I'd seen it a bunch. And the next movie that I got after that one, Goldeneye. Now, Goldeneye happens to be, I mean, as of right now, it's my favorite because it's the one that I grew up on. It's the one, I grew up 90s kid playing Goldeneye. That was one of my first N64 games. So I have a lot of nostalgia with it, but that being said, I tried when I watched it again this time to go, okay, well, hopefully I'm not just living off nostalgia, and hopefully this movie is as good as I remember. Okay, so I want to do the cons first. Let's get the negatives out of the way, and then we'll do the pros. And like I said, for anyone that doesn't know the plot of Goldeneye, don't watch this video. Just go watch the movie and then come back. And if you want someone to break down the plot of the movie, like I said, Calvin Dyson, I've been giving him a lot of love and appreciation lately. He's great at doing James Bond videos. He breaks down like every part of a James Bond movie and has the video clips and everything like that. If you want that, I would just go to his channel. I'm trying to give you a little different perspective and some things that I guess maybe don't get talked about enough. Okay, so for the last one, Die Another Day, I did 10 cons and 10 pros. For Goldeneye, I tried to come up with 10 cons and I couldn't do it. So, yeah, I'm going to do 5 cons and then I got 10 pros. So the first con I got is in the opening sequence, or the pre-title sequence, when James is having to chase that plane to get onto it to escape the chemical plant. He defies physics because it's not possible for him to fall faster than the plane. The plane weighs more than him. We all know how gravity works. Like it's your mass is part of how fast you fall. It's the reason why, a feather and a human being are not going to fall at the same rate. Like a feather is going to fall to Earth eventually, but it's going to be a lot longer to get there. Same thing in this. A human being is not going to be able to fall as fast. Doesn't matter if you close your hands to your legs and make yourself aerodynamic, you're not going to be able to fall faster than that plane. That plane catches air going like this with the wings. It doesn't catch air going like this. It just free falls. So anyway, physics is ignored in that opening scene. Now that, don't get me wrong, it's still a great sequence, and I can still turn off my brain and be like, yeah, I'm just enjoying that he did that. I wish they would have done that a little differently, where basically he wasn't having to catch up as much. If he would have like just jumped off with the bike like right as the plane was getting off, then I'm like, I would believe it that he could catch up to it. Okay, the next con that I have is Xenia, her bedroom scene, and this basically goes to her weird fetish of like wanting to choke the life out of men. I guess while they're inside her. I don't know. I'm trying to make this kid friendly, so if a child watches this, I'm not, but we do have to talk about some mature stuff when we get into this. I think it's kind of weird. I'm okay with her having like a fixation for like death where it like arouses her. I'm okay with that. But I just didn't need to see the scene of her and the Admiral. I didn't need to see that. I feel like you could have done that where you just show that like she basically does the move and maybe you hear it. Maybe have like a waiter or a butler or something like that walk up to the door and hear it. I didn't really need to see the life sucked out of that guy, but anyway, that's weird. And Calvin Dyson mentions it on his channel, and I completely agree with him. That's definitely a scene that when you're growing up and you watch that with family, you just are like, yeah, I'm gonna go find something else to do. Okay, so the next con that I have is the aftermath of the EMP blast is very unrealistic. Okay, so for anyone that doesn't know, I used to work on aircraft. I mean, I still kind of do, but I was in the military and I worked on aircraft. And anyway, one of the many things that you find out if you're doing what my job was, because I part of my job was working with the wiring and inspecting and fixing wiring and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so the wiring on military aircraft since like the 1960s has EMP like shielding around the wiring to prevent what happens in this movie. Which there's a couple things that aren't realistic. One of them, if you get hit with an EMP blast and you're in a fighter jet, your jet's not gonna all of a sudden like look like Palpatine, like lightning did the lightning hands and like oh like that wouldn't happen. Your stuff, if it wasn't EMP shielded, it might just like literally zero out and be like, okay, your gauges all read zero. Your any like computer box that you got that basically is trying to give you some information would basically be dead. That stuff's all true if you didn't have the EMP shielding, but that was just something that I guess they were like, here's a cool concept. So and don't get me wrong, I think the important stuff in this country, like government stuff, and probably like banks are probably EMP shielded to prevent stuff like this. Excuse me. Oh. Not cutting that out. I think important stuff. Important stuff is EMP shielded, but I think like if you were to set off an EMP blast in like regular America, like a regular city, I think a lot of stuff would go out. Yes, but I think the super important stuff, they would just get EMP shielding around the wiring. So that unrealistic. The guys losing complete control of their planes. Your plane doesn't just rely on electronics to fly it. You have manual controls. So like you have like there's a bunch of stuff that yes, like with electrically they work, but like they also have mechanical. Like there's mechanical pumps that don't rely on any electricity. There's hydraulics that don't require. Like they have electrical boost pumps and stuff like that. Anyway, I'm probably getting too technical, but a lot of that stuff was not realistic. Okay, so the next con that I have is Jack Wade just feels weird after seeing The Living Daylights. So The Living Daylights is one that I hadn't seen before, and then like 3 weeks ago, I finally sat down and watched that and License to Kill. And I do want to get my reviews of those, but I think I want to rewatch them again because that was my first time. And yeah, Jack Wade in those movies, I forgot what the character's name is. Brad Whitaker, I think, is the guy that he plays in Living Daylights, and he's a bad guy and not even a good, like not even like a likable bad guy. And I don't mean this as in like he's totally evil. He just doesn't have a whole lot to him and just comes across as like a man-child. And then it's like, but you want me to believe that this guy is like the main baddie of this movie. So it was weird. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Jack Wade as a character, and I think that actor portrays him really well. But after watching Living Daylights, I'm just like, it just seems weird that 2 Bond movies ago from Goldeneye, this guy was the main bad guy, and now we cast him as the good guy. I get it. They probably were like, well, we really like this actor, and he has a good relationship with maybe the director or the company. I still probably would have found someone else. But that being said, like I said, he does a good job. Okay, and then lastly, I got General Oromov's performance. So I forgot the actor that plays General Oromov, but I have a few problems with his performance. So, well, first of all, like he kills 006, but doesn't really kill him. That's always felt weird to me because they just go, he shoots him, but you can't really tell if he like shoots, misses, and then he pretends to be dead because it looks like he shoots him in the head. So maybe that was a blank, but then he shoots that soldier and that looked real. So it's very hard to understand. But no, my biggest problem with Oromov is there's a scene where James Bond is being interrogated by Minister Mishkin. And Oromov walks in and he goes like, I have to protest. Like, he's like, you're out of order. Like, this isn't, this isn't your investigation. And Mishkin's like, well, according to what they say, like it's you who's out of order. And he's like, he picks up his gun. He's like, do you even know who the enemy is? Do you? that didn't ring true to me. It sounded like fake and not believable, and so he kills Mishkin, which I get because Mishkin was sniffing too close. He kills the guard that's in there, and then he hands the gun back to James. I don't understand that. He hands like James Bond, like, or you should know, like, wants to kill you, and he says like, killed by the British Secret Service, and he like hands the gun back. I guess maybe to get his fingerprints, but like, a guy that wants to do hurt to me and wants to kill me, I'm not going to give him a gun back. So for me, I wouldn't have done that. I would have like literally just like pointed the gun at him, like walked away and like tried to lock that door and like leave him trapped in there. And then I would have been like, find some guard to be like, hey, I heard gunshots. Let's go check in on that room. So that never really worked for me. Okay, so let's go to the pros. Seeing 006 and 007 work together, awesome. So for me, Alec Trevelyan might be my favorite Bond villain. Part of it's I love Sean Bean, but the other part of it's just I love the concept of like a rogue 00 agent that is like Bond's match in mostly every way. But I love the opening sequence of being able to see them work together. I wish we would have got more of that, but I understand why we didn't. The next pro, the Severnaya scene is truly scary. So they did really well with when Natalya'S there, and not only is like, all her coworkers are getting shot at and mowed down, but like also like when they leave and the place is starting to blow up after the Goldeneye satellite has launched on it. Yeah, it's scary. Like they do a really good job of making that feel like, you truly wouldn't want to be here. You just watched everybody die, and then this place is like falling apart around you. So I'm sure that was a set, but they did a really good job of the destruction they had. To me, it looked believable. It didn't look like a set. Okay, the Q scene. Q's pretty good in most of his scenes, but this scene especially is good. The amount of gadgets that he's showing off, the exploding pen, the belt, the rocket launch, like the walking boot that he's got, the cast, all those are good. And then the like, don't touch that. That's my lunch. He's awesome in that. Okay, and then we move on to Valentin Sikorsky, who is one of my favorite Bond allies, or just reoccurring characters, I guess, because he does show up in The World Is Not Enough. I think he's great. I love basically everything about that scene. Aside from the girl that really can't sing, but it adds to the charm of it. But yeah, I like where he's like, why didn't you kill me? And he was like, call professional courtesy. He's like, allow me to show you the same courtesy. Yeah, Robbie Coltrane, rest in peace. I know he just passed away in the last like 6 months, I believe, but he was great. He was great as that character. I know most people know him for Hagrid in Harry Potter. I personally think he was better at this than he was playing Hagrid. I know that's controversial, but I think he was better as Sikorsky. But the only thing I'll say I wish was explained a little bit more, or we would have gotten to see, is I would have liked to see the exchange where they talk about, set me up with Janus. Your man walks away scot-free with money, and their man gets caught with explosives or something like that. I would have actually liked to see that scene, because if I'm Sikorsky, yes, I'm helping you I'm setting you up with Janus, but I would have liked to see, just a little bit more of like Sikorsky being like a little skeptical, like, you already shot me, like I don't really trust you all that much. Okay, so next we go with the reveal of Janus scene in the Goldeneye game. They call it statue. I don't really remember what the exact setting is supposed to be. It's really creepy because it looks like it looks like Russia, and I think what happened is Russia in St. Petersburg, they took a bunch of like the Soviet memorabilia or the Soviet statues, whatever, and now that the Soviet Union had fell and Russia became a country again, they were like, let's get all this crap out of here and move it somewhere. And I guess that's where a relic of the Soviet Union. So they moved all that stuff over, and anyway, that's where Alec Trevelyan did his reveal that he's still alive. I love the dialogue that they have with those two characters, where like he's saying like, trust could be misplaced, and then he's like, my family trusted the British government. He's like, basically like, look where that got them. And he also, I love where he was like, part of me thought about like asking you to join my little scheme. But he's like, but I knew that, your loyalty was always the mission and never to your friend. Am I supposed to feel sorry for you? No, you're supposed to die for me. Great classic lines. When he tells James, because he's like, put the gun away, he's like, it's silly for you to think that I haven't like predicted your every move. Because it's true. It's like he literally knows exactly what it's like to be a double O agent, and he also knows James and knows exactly what his tendencies are, what he's likely to use, all that stuff. Next, we go over to the train sequence. For me, like the train sequence is a top scene in all Bond. I love that. I love the derailing of the train. I love the look of his train. Like it made me think like if I was a rich dude, maybe I would want my own train. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, I like it, and I like how James kind of has to choose between saving Natalia and getting the bad guys, and obviously he chooses to save Natalia. And then we get the classic, 6 minutes where he's like, "Oh, by the way, James, I rigged the floor to blow up in 6 minutes." He's like, "The same 6 minutes you gave me." He's like, "Have fun." Classic. Those are simple things that in a plot in a James Bond movie you might not always get those little. I don't know what you call them, but like little moments of just like, oh, that's great writing right there. The plot to steal the money, I think, is pretty genius. To use an EMP blast on a major city and get in there and steal the funds, like steal money, like digitally, and then you get like a world class hacker like Boris, and then by the time that it's like, oh, we're gonna trace back who did it, well, EMP blast and the records are gone. I think that's genius. Personally, I think that's pretty awesome. So as far as like James Bond plots go, I think that's up there with one of the best in my opinion. And it is kind of cool because Janus or Alec is using his like, oh well, my family was betrayed, all this kind of stuff. He's basically using that, and you realize like, okay, yes, that did matter to him, but he basically just wants to inflict damage upon England. But he's also trying to like enhance his own pockets. This isn't really. His thirst for revenge, I don't think could ever really be quenched. I don't think he's like, oh, well, if I get this, I'll be happy. He's like, I don't really care how many people have to suffer. Like, they screwed me over, so whatever. The final showdown, I think, is probably the best at all of James Bond between a villain and James. I love the whole sequence. I love the, I was always better. Like, I love that. And then when they get down and they're actually fighting on that last spot, the only thing I'll say is I wish that James had a different way of how he would have got the best of Alec besides like, oh, look, there's a helicopter. And then he like bucks up and like gets him. And then he catches him, which is cool. And then he like drops him and he's like, no, for me. Great stuff. Like I said, although it's not realistic that Alec would be able to survive that fall, he'd totally be dead. But I don't think your back even could support like you taking a fall from that height. I'm not even counting you like banging your skull against the ground, which he definitely would have. And lastly, for a pro, I got Bona and Natalya'S chemistry. So she is one of the better Bond girls to me because she does feel like a real person. I'm about to review another Bond movie here right after this one, and that girl did not feel like a real person to me. But people love that movie. But anyway, I'll get to that. But for this one, I forgot the girl's name that plays Natalia, but she did a great job. Like I said, them making her a programmer, I think was a really smart choice. It makes her feel not only like she has something to do, but it just, once again, makes her feel like a real person and not like, I'm a super spy. Ugh. Ugh. Okay. But yeah, their chemistry really works. I don't feel like it was forced. They didn't start making out as soon as they saw each other. They actually started fighting initially. And it wasn't until like after the train sequence blows up where she sees that he saves her life and picked to save her. That's when she, I think, is like, okay, I'm really feeling this guy. But yeah, I think they do everything in a classy way. And then I also like at the last scene where they get dropped off by the helicopter and they reveal that there's all the Marines around them, that he picks her up and he's like, come on, darling, like, what could possibly go wrong if I like take you on a train or whatever. I really like their dynamic, and I think that's not only great acting on both their parts, but I do think in general those two actors had great chemistry. So that's my pros of Goldeneye. Now to my rating. So to remind everybody, I have Coaster, which is the worst, where a movie is better served as a placeholder for your drink than actually being watched. I have Don't Pay For It, which is basically, there might be some movies out there that, maybe have some redeeming qualities and maybe I didn't like them, and my recommendation to the normal person would be, hey, just don't spend money for this. Find a way to watch it for free. Go to a friend's house, find some streaming service that it's on for free. I'm not going to say steal it, but don't pay for it. The next one would be a $5 bin movie. There are some movies that if you saw it at a $5 bin at Walmart, you'd be like, that's actually like, maybe worth looking into. Maybe give that a shot. Yeah, if $5 is all you got to invest to own the whole movie, maybe you'll like it. That's all I'm saying is it's and by the way, I got snot right now. Hold on. I don't care. I'm doing this live. No cuts. Okay. Ugh. Okay. So, like I said, not cutting that. Um, so $5 bin, like I said, that's like you're just now getting into like the watchable category, really, for me. Because there's movies I have on my shelf that I probably bought it for $5 at Walmart, and I'm like, yeah, I actually found something that I like about it. The next rating is Guilty Pleasure, which is a favorable rating, which means like most people don't like it, but I really like it. And then I got Buy It Own It, which is like just hands down, like this is just a Buy It Own It, like it's a really solid movie, like it's enjoyable, it's good. And then lastly is a masterpiece where to me it's like for what it was trying to do, it was flawless and I really enjoy it. First masterpiece I've given out on this channel since I've been doing reviews. I've been doing reviews for about 4 years now. Granted, I haven't done that many movie reviews like I wanted to, but Goldeneye is a masterpiece because it resurrected Bond, in my opinion, to be like mainstream again. Because after Timothy Dalton's, which, like I said, I don't hate Timothy Dalton's. I thought I would, but I watched him and I don't hate him. But he didn't have the, I don't know what you call it, charisma that Brosnan had towards the role. And then Goldeneye, I just think overall the plot, everything, it just brought Bond back to prominence. And yeah, I think it's a masterpiece for what it tries to do. Now, if you compare this against like Shawshank Redemption or something like that, then maybe it's not going to stand up with everything it's trying to tell you about life. But no, Goldeneye, I think for an action series, for an action movie, and for a Bond movie, I think it's the best, or it's up there with the best. So I say masterpiece. So anyway, that's it for now. I will be recording my next Bond review, and you'll get to see that here in a second. Thanks for sticking with me. Have a good one.